Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys my offensive line outlook for the Washington football team. Who do I think makes the team, who gets cut, some surprise cuts, and how many offensive linemen do I think the Washington football team will keep. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm on the road to 6,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. So let's get right into the video. I'll also talk about who I think will be the starters for our offensive line. So I want you guys to comment down below who you think will be the starter at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, and then right tackle. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So let's go ahead and get started. So I think the Washington football team's offensive line was better than a lot of people thought it was going into the season. They did allow, a high amount of sacks, but PFF ranked them the 6th best offensive line, and I think those sack numbers were a little bit misleading because a lot of our quarterbacks, Haskins, in those 6 games, or in those 4 games he started in the beginning of the year and some games later on, he ran into a bunch of sacks, held the ball for too long. Alex Smith just wasn't mobile, so I think that contributed to their high sack totals. And I'm not saying they're the 6th best offensive line in football last year, but I think they were solid, definitely average to above average, and they did upgrade at some spots this year, definitely. So let's go ahead and get started. So obviously Brandon Scherff, our best offensive lineman, made All-Pro last year for Washington, which was the first time in a very, very long time. And he is going to play under the franchise tag for the Washington football team. And the biggest thing with him isn't his play, which his play is great, but it's his health. You look at his first 3 seasons, he was pretty healthy, 16 and 14 games. But then you look at 2018, played 8 games, 2019 played 11 games, and 2020 played 13 games. That's just not going to cut it if you're going to pay a guard $15+ million, which is definitely what you're going to have to pay Brandon Scherff to keep him here long term. And the thing that's even a little more concerning is that he started his first 3 years he was healthy, but it's been the last 3 years that he's been unhealthy. Last year wasn't too bad, only missing 3 games, but still you can't be doing that every single year if you're getting paid top tier money, which is what he's going to get. But still, we get him under contract for 1 more year for this season, and he's going to play great if he's healthy. Great run blocker, good pass blocker as well, and he's a great leader. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And there's still a chance we re-sign him, but that's going to have to be in free agency, and there's going to be some competition from other teams. Obviously Brandon Scherff's going to make it, Chase Roulier as well. I love him. I think he's one of the most underrated centers in the NFL. We re-signed him, this offseason, which I think is great. He's 27 years old, 6'4", 312 pounds, and he does not have an issue with health. Only missed about 6 or 5 games in his career, missed 3 in his rookie year, played 16 in 2018, 14 in 2019, and 16 in 2020. So I love to see that by him, and he's played pretty well these last couple years, which got him a good contract, and I think it was a pretty good deal for the Washington football team, especially considering he's pretty young. So I think he's still gonna get better, and he's still got 5 years of good football ahead of him. So obviously Chase Roulier will be making the team and will be our starting center. Next guy that we'll talk about, Sam Cosmi, who the Washington football team drafted in the 2nd round. Freak athlete, 22 years old, 6'6", 309 pounds. Might want to put a little bit of weight on, especially at the NFL level. 6'6". Hopefully he gets to about 320. And maybe he is, but that's the weight that they have for him. I'm excited to see what Sam Cosmi can do. I think the reason why they did move on from Morgan Moses, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but if they like Sam Cosmi and Sam Cosmi plays solid this year, then it's definitely 100% the right move, because you don't want to have Morgan Moses start the first few games of the season and then have to bench him and start Sam Cosmi over him. I don't think Morgan Moses is the type of guy that would be okay with that, and that would, ruffle some feathers in the locker room. So if Sam Cosmi is a guy this year, then I think that was a great move by them. I think he will be the starting right tackle, week one. If not week one, later on in the season, he's going to be competing with Cornelius Lucas. But, I mean, they invested a second-round pick in him. They cut Morgan Moses to fit him in. I would be a little bit surprised if he isn't the starting right tackle. Week one, that's where he started. Initially at Texas, he played some right tackle, and then later on moved over to left tackle. So Washington could do that with him this year with Charles Leno on the left side. But excited to see what Sam Cosmi can do in his rookie year. He is a little bit raw, but I really think, I love John Matsko, and I think he's going to be able to develop him into a good player. Next guy, and we'll go a little bit quicker because there's a lot of guys we have to talk about. Wes Schweitzer, great signing by the Washington football team last year. Not sure if he's going to be a starter or not. Really a three-way competition, in my opinion. Wes Schweitzer, Eric Flowers, and Sadiq Charles for that guard position. I think Wes Schweitzer has a little bit of an upper hand just because he played, for Washington last year, and knows the system and everything. But Eric Flowers had a great year in 2019 for the Washington football team before Ron Rivera came in. So we will see. But Wes Schweitzer played some really good football last year at both guard positions, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year in his second year. If he's not starting, he's great depth at both guard positions. Next, we got Charles Leno, who I do think will be our starting left tackle. We got a pretty good deal for him. I think it was $5 million or less. And solid. He's solid. He's not amazing, but he's solid. He gets the job done. Pretty, similar to Morgan Moses. They stay healthy. I think Leno, though, Moses never misses games. That's what I meant to say. Leno, though, does stay healthy because Moses is always on the injury report and is playing hurt, which, could catch up to him once he starts to get a little bit older. But I do like the signing for the Washington football team at left tackle, signing Leno, but it is not a long-term solution. It's a one-year deal. They could re-sign him if he plays well, but they still might need to find their left tackle in the future. We'll see if Sam Cosmi does flip over to left tackle after his rookie year. Next guy, Lucas, played pretty well last year. 83.1 pass blocking grade for PFF, which was tied 10th. And 4% pressure rate. So he was solid last year. Didn't play that many games, though. Had a couple injuries. So we'll see what he does this year. He's definitely going to compete with Sam Cosmi at right tackle, and that's his natural position, or at least he played more of that in Chicago. And if he doesn't start, he's still great depth at both left tackle and right tackle, which I think is great. So if he stays healthy, I think he'll be a contributor this year, even if he isn't our starter. So next guy, probably the most intriguing guy on the offensive line, in my opinion, is Sadiq Charles, because I've had a tough, time trying to figure out what they're trying to do with him. If they're trying to have him at left tackle or guard, 21 years old, 6'4", 322 pounds, because I think they think he can be a really good guard. But obviously, I mean, it's just tough because now with Brandon Scherff possibly moving on from him after this season, you're going to need another guard. So maybe they put Sadiq Charles there, but also we move on from Leno after this year, you're going to need another tackle. So we'll see. It's probably just going to be where he fits best they'll put him at, because they could use another guard next year possibly, or for a long-term solution, or another tackle. The big thing with him, though, he's got to stay healthy, and if he stays healthy and stays out of trouble, which was a concern coming out of college, I think he will be a really good starter for a long time. Not necessarily an elite player, but an above average starter, which is a great thing if you're drafting a guy in the fourth round, which is what they did. Next guy on the list, Eric Flowers. So all those guys, Eric Flowers, Sadiq Charles, and Wes Schweitzer, will be competing for the left guard position. And yeah, it's going to be this is probably the biggest competition on the team, maybe besides wide receiver. Eric Flowers obviously played for Washington in 2019 after making a position change, going from tackle to guard, and really saved his career. Played really well for us in 2019. 2020, though, did not play too well. Didn't play terrible, but didn't play great. But we basically got Ereck Flowers for free. We gave up, 7th round picks swaps. So we didn't really even give up a pick. We just gave up 7th round positioning, and we had to pay, the Dolphins actually paid the majority of Ereck Flowers' salary. So I think that was a great move for, at the very least, getting good depth. Who we'll see if he starts or not. But if he doesn't, you're paying 2.5 or whatever, 3 mil. I think that's what it is, to have a really good, possibly a good starter to an amazing backup for you. So I really like that move for the Washington football team. Next guy, I think all these guys are going to make the team. And then David Sharp, I think he has a solid chance of making the team because they probably want to keep 4 tackles, and he's probably their 4th best tackle. Started some games for Washington last year, re-signed him relatively early in the offseason. Still pretty young, and he can be your backup right tackle. If anything happens, he can probably play both, but he's definitely better at right tackle. So those guys, I think those 8 guys will make the roster unless something crazy happens. After that, it's going to be really interesting. Keith Ismail is going to be battling for a roster spot with Tyler Larsen. Both of them could make it, but it could just be one of them making the roster. Also, Wes Martin has a chance, but I do not think so. 4th round pick in 2019 from a previous regime. Didn't play great last year. Won the starting job, but just was terrible in those first 4 games. We'll see what happens, though. The competition of Wes Martin, Keith Ismail, and Tyler Larsen. I think at the most 2 out of those 3 will make it. It could just be 1. They're going to keep 9 or 10 offensive linemen. Probably we'll see 10, depending on how they feel about their starters and their health going in to the 2021 season. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video. Peace.